But now on to the heavy stuff. Changes to Catelyn Stark from pilot to TV series. There were significant differences enough that even the Huffington Post article on its own had a whole subsection devoted to this, going Catelyn was really different in it. And not just that she was recast, I mean, the script itself. I hate it when people blame the cast members. I saw fan site leaders, and you know who you are, blaming the Sand Snake actresses for the terrible dialogue they had. And it's just, please tell me how anyone could deliver a line like, you want a good girl, but you need the bad, well. That they're doing mental gymnastics so they don't have to blame the script writers. At no point do they ever admit, I think Benioff wrote a bad line here. It has to be, no, the actors are at fault. I don't think some people can separate the meat puppets, the actors, from someone is making them say this. They're not real people. So, yes, the role was recast. That Jennifer Ely played Catelyn Stark in the pilot. We have not even a single image of that. And then we have Michelle Fairley as Catelyn Stark in the rest of the show. I do not think Jennifer Ely left due to creative differences at all. They said she left because she had a baby while they were waiting. That's fine. I am worried that when Michelle Fairley came on board, however, through no fault of Fairley's, that Benioff and Weiss were influenced by her presence to reconceive the role to make it worthy of the actor's talents. To show off that Fairley can cry on cue. Just as with other actors, they've said this, like, Daenerys, that, Emilia Clarke is really happy and good at being bubbly in real life, that she's this bubbly, happy personality. So we started writing Daenerys to be like that. And Daenerys is this traumatized, stern abuse survivor with a bit of a sense of humor at times. It's not really similar. Just so many other things, like, we started writing Tyrion like Peter Dinklage. Maybe you shouldn't, because A Dance with Dragons Tyrion is going through a really dark phase. So, why was Catelyn changed? Because they were getting influenced by what they thought the actress could do, or were these changes on the page even before she was recast? That is a question. But what exactly were the changes? Well, to remind you, in the book version, Catelyn urges Ned to go south with Robert, emphasizing that Sansa would be a queen. A lot more understanding of how Southern court politics works. Ned's just a soldier and from the north. She was raised at River Run in a Southern court. She knows how this is important to politics for their survival, for marriage alliances. I've seen people even criticizing her from the books, going, this makes her look ambitious. Some people in the books are explicitly social climbers who are overly greedy and ambitious about getting the best marriage. But on the other hand, you want a good marriage alliance for your children. A lot of this is practicality. That it would be bad governance if you didn't secure good political marriages. That Tytos Lannister, Tywin's father, stupidly married in the books, his younger sister Jenna, to a younger son of House Frey, not even the heir to House Frey, and the Freys don't even rule all of the Riverlands, the Tullys do. And this is the height of failure. And they say Tywin nearly hit his father at one point. No, I think that was the Rain Rebellion, but just he was the only one who stood up and shouted at him, even though he was 10 years old. It's not always ambitious to be, I'm going to marry the queen. It's, you threw your pearls before swine. You threw away your daughter and dishonored her. So I'm thinking of Titus like that even reading the book, Catelyn, because the chapter is written from her POV narration, by the way, if you haven't read it, she's talking pragmatically. We should make good political matches for our children. This is just knowing how this works. And Sansa's totally on board with it, so this isn't her being ambitious. And people are arguing, it might look that way in a TV show. There's plenty of ways to go, no, he didn't need to look ambitious. But getting ahead of myself, that much like in the books, she urges it would be good for her to be queen. And then after getting Lysa's letter in their bedchambers about secretly, oh no, there's a secret Lannister plot. They killed Jon Arryn or conspiring to kill King Robert. They both hear it with Maester Luwin. Catelyn urges that you must go south to find out the truth of Jon Arryn's murder. She points out, Jon Arryn was a second father to you. Robert, you always said he was like a brother to you. And you must go south to defend him. If his life is truly in danger, you must find out this plot. You care about him. And Ned doesn't disagree with this. He's very hesitant that these are entirely sound arguments. I just wish these problems weren't happening. So Catelyn is really the driving force behind, be good for Sansa to be queen, and later, if there really is a plot, Sansa would be in danger, Robert is in danger, you need to set right Jon Arryn's murder. Then the final aired season 1 version with Michelle Fairley's Catelyn, was this written before or after it was cast? I don't know, but just visually, there is a new scene of her combing Sansa's hair, which is not in the pilot scripts at all. This is something new for Winter is Coming. And Sansa's really eager to marry, going, oh, will he like me? What if he thinks I'm ugly? And Catelyn is, while not rejecting her, a little hesitant in the scene. Watch this as a YouTube clip or something, she plays it hesitant. And more importantly, in the bedroom with Ned, before the Lysa letter comes, when they're laying in bed, rewatch this scene, he says, I'm a Northman, I belong at Winterfell. And whereas in the book version of that, she responds with, well, you need to keep an eye on Sansa or something. In this TV version, she agrees. She then jokingly says, I won't let him take you. I'll say, listen, fat man, you are not taking my husband anywhere. He belongs to me now. She says this while she's cuddling with him in bed. She's joking around, but she isn't making political decisions with that. She's being jokey and not treating it seriously and not even having a different opinion. Then, after they get the Lysa letter, it gets really different. That Ned now reluctantly, still, kind of reluctantly feels he must go south, but instead of being talked into it still, that it's like instead of being 40% I have to go, now he's 60% I have to go. Instead of Catelyn's book version, it's Catelyn saying, in your heart you have to go, you just don't want to. It's him grudgingly saying, Catelyn and Luwin, I have to go south. And Catelyn, well, she says this line that isn't from the books and not really in the tone of that, or in the original script. It's Luwin says, well, Ned owes Robert, these bonds of loyalty. And she replies back, quote, he spent half his life fighting Robert's wars. He owes him nothing. Which is weird on a couple of levels. First off, factually, chronologically, it was 2 wars, Robert's Rebellion and the Greyjoy Rebellion, which each lasted about 1 year. That isn't half of his life. And, you could be saying, oh, well, she's upset, so she's saying it. That's putting more thought into it than it deserves. It's just a weird line. But it's not just the time. It's tonally. Why are you blaming him on these wars? The Greyjoy Rebellion threatened everyone. The North has a coast with the Ironborn. Robert's Rebellion, more importantly. The Mad King killed Ned's older brother, Brandon, whom Catelyn was engaged to marry at the time. He killed her fiancé. So then, after he died, she married Ned to secure the alliance that was already planned. It wasn't just this quarrel Robert had with Rhaegar that fueled the entire war, but the Mad King's growing tyranny and just overall insanity. Robert helped avenge Brandon. And that's just for Catelyn. What about, Ned owes him nothing. The Mad King killed Ned's father, Lord Rickard. This is a quarrel Robert is having in the South. I should stay home. That's not what happened to Ned. His father and brother were killed, and Robert helped him avenge them in a rebellion. And everyone knows this. Catelyn would never say something like this in the books. Just more importantly, it was Robert's wars. You owe him nothing. When he owes him quite a bit. Doesn't Ned kind of owe Robert at this point in time for offering to make his daughter Sansa a queen, on top of everything he was already owing him for. I mean, in this scene in the books, Book Catelyn explicitly brings up, among the other reasons, that this man is a brother to you, Jon Arryn was a second father to you, that, he just offered to make Sansa a queen, and among all these reasons we owe him, that he just offered us this big political boon, and she's going, oh, we owe him nothing. The open-handed king who just offered a really important marriage alliance. And for that matter, what about not just Robert, what about Jon Arryn, who is literally Catelyn's brother-in-law? That Jon Arryn is married to her sister Lysa. He is the father of her nephew Sweet Robin. There are ties of marriage and of blood. The Tully House words are family, duty, honor. Yet they have Catelyn near hysterically urging, no, my poor children, don't go and fight for your other family members who are in danger. It's weird. They just plain didn't think out these lines. That it's not just, oh, they made a version of Catelyn I don't like. It's incoherent. They didn't plan out the repercussions of this makes her look selfish. Not like a caring mother, even. Though that's what they were going for, I think. Well, what happens in the pilot scripts? Well, there's like one or two lines different, but pretty much both of them are much more like the books. Catelyn at first urging, politely, not insistently, what a great boon it is if Sansa becomes queen. It's like, will she be queen? But then later at night, after the Lysa letter, as in the books, instead of crying about men always leave, she gives basically similar dialogue. She urges that, Arryn was a second father to you, Robert is like a brother to you. From a purely political standpoint, even if you didn't love these men, which you do, politically, what if the Lannisters are trying to take over the Iron Throne? You need to find out what happened if the Lannisters murdered him and might murder Robert. It's basically Book Catelyn. And there's some slight wording differences between the version Martin submitted to the library and the online pilot script. That Martin's one has her read the letter aloud that Jon Arryn has been murdered, quote, by the Lannisters, by the Queen. And the online script leaves out by the Queen. And I don't know which one of these is earlier. Maybe one wanted to really put suspicion on Cersei. Maybe they cut out. It could have happened in either order. Again, we're picking that apart in the more detailed wiki page of which one of these was the first version, but in either scenario, the core remains that Catelyn's the one who seems more politically minded, and not just, ambitious, just she's, Ned doesn't know how politics works and it gets him killed, versus Catelyn is the political leader of House Stark. She knows how diplomacy works, and you have to help King Robert if there's really a plot against him. So, the revelation from this confirmation, and this is an official pilot script that even Martin submitted somewhere for archiving. What we do know now is that changes to Catelyn apparently happened after the pilot, after the recast, for the rewritten new first episode. And this may have nothing to do with Ely. She left because she had a baby. So, why was TV-Catelyn changed? That is a question which we have not been pursuing enough. This is a wider issue, and follow me on this. Too many, from TV fans or book fans, just fill in the blanks with their own rational explanations. It must have been because of X. That's what gets me. They're not even phrasing it as a guess, as a theory. They're certain of this. Even the rational but negative explanations. The people defending it go, no, they did this to show that Catelyn is sympathetic. And like book fans who hate it go, they must have done this to make Catelyn look bad. It's, do you know that? What evidence are you basing that on? they're still trying to think of coherent reasons behind it. They sat down at the writer's room and went, we need to make Catelyn look bad. Or sat down and said, we need to do something to make her more sympathetic. I did that. Do not assume there was a reason, a rational reason. Like, for all we know, they did it because we like showing off that Michelle Fairley can cry on cue. That's what they've said in all their interviews about a lot of other characters. I felt like doing it. And it never occurred to us, and they flew under the radar, that this is just some guy who faked his way into writing, that he really does, Benioff does things on impulse without thinking of a positive or negative reason. There are no reasons. We should have reacted much more after season 1 made changes. I remember reading through reviews on Westeros.org, and they're going, wow, this is different, observationally, and then something was weird when the writers weren't giving us answers behind why did you change this. Even little things like, why is Jaehaerys 2 cut out of the listing of Targaryen kings? They go, oh yeah, we cut that. Why? Why is Jane Westerling changed to Talissa? Well, we changed it. That they changed things in even season 1, or Cersei having a baby who died in the cradle, which was never in the books. They just wouldn't tell us, and at the time we'd start speculating, there's going to be some secret payoff for it later. Maybe they just didn't like sharing their impulsive reasons with us, because it would make them look bad. They always just said, well, we did it because we felt like it. And I'm not even horrified by him. That he didn't give a justification. That isn't normal or professional. I'm horrified by how the rest of us didn't react more strongly and try to stamp that out before he became too big to fight easily. Just when someone goes, because I said so. I've been watching a lot of documentaries on stuff. I'm thinking of like the Nexium cult and stuff, and Scientology, that this is how cults work. Cults on a bigger scale, national propaganda and a police state. On a small scale, just abusive relationships. I've lived with a domestic abuser, my father to my mother. It's the same thing of when you're coercing someone. I independently of Game of Thrones, I'm convinced of this, that abusive relationships to cults to propaganda do many of the similar tactics, just on different scales of manipulating people and breaking them down. And a core of it is, like with a cult, cults train you not to think. Don't ask questions, just accept it. Because if you scrutinized what they're doing, it would be ridiculous. And just gradually, they're anti-intellectual, like police states, they're anti-intellectual cults, thinking of Scientology, they tell you, don't go online, don't research things, don't ask questions. And that just, since season 1, where Benioff and Weiss were not forthcoming in Q&A, eventually, through learned helplessness, we just learned to stop asking them questions. And eventually, even their critics, I'm criticizing the book fans, of which I am one myself, we stopped asking, why is this happening? And just started reacting to it hit like or dislike on Facebook or something, and not, oh wow, Dorne is bad. Why is this happening behind the scenes? Just, why is Catelyn crying and not having political agency? At one point, men were in a room around a writer's table, or just two of them meeting actually, and going, this is why I think we're doing this. Did Martin ask them? Did they even tell Martin, this is why we're changing Catelyn this way? Just, did he ask? Why is Catelyn suddenly begging him to stay and crying? We should have asked. We should have pressed this. And the first chain link in the chains we have now of bondage were forged when we let this type of thing pass in season 1. And it just grew from there and kept growing. All your book fans worrying about things. Then we got stuff like TV Dorne and the White Hunt in season 7 and Arya threatening to kill Sansa, that we stopped asking questions.